Hi, welcome. Thank you so much for
Hello,
being
how are
on
you?
today's episode. I'm excited to have you.
Yes, I'm excited to be here.
Wow. So, how did you tell us how you got started in this matchmaking business?
So that is such a wonderful question. This is a question that we get all the time.
How did the journey begin?
So the journey for me began, I would say like I've always just been passionate about love. I think ever since I was a little kid, I've been like a hopeless romantic. And I just love the way people express love to themselves and, especially those love that is extremely sincere and genuine at heart. So I always just love that. I love bringing two people together, in the hopes of them finding love and being in a healthy relationship for the long term. So, but I actually thought about starting the business when I met my husband or after my husband and I got married. Because, firstly, I am Nigerian American. So, my husband and I met in an unconventional way. We met online. So, that is something that it's really not the norm for normal Nigerians or even people, because, a lot of people are skeptical about it. And I was a skeptic as well. But when I found my husband through an unconventional way, that's when I actually thought about this. Like, you know what? There's so many different opportunities out there that people do not take advantage of. So we, in a way, we put ourselves in this on orthodox box, like, oh, I have to meet someone, maybe in a church or in a party or in a grocery store. But there are so many different ways that you can meet people nowadays. So I'm like, I just want to help bring back the hope of love into the hearts of people. Because even at that time that I met my husband, I completely lost hope in love, and I didn't think I was going to find someone. So that is another story for another day. The way my husband and I met, it's
Well,
just
I think we could add that in if you're
yeah,
comfortable
we
with
we
it.
we can absolutely. So that's how I decided to start this business, because I figured, look, I found love in an unconventional way. If I can find love, anybody out there can find love.
Yeah. So, what brought you guys together? Like, was it his picture? Was it something he said on his profile?
So the thing about it wasn't even his picture, because at the time that I met him, there was another guy that I had met. And when I met him, my husband did not check all the boxes at all. He did not. And I didn't even choose him first. I chose the other guy. Yes. I
I
chose the
love it.
other guy. But my husband, he was very pure and sincere,
Mm.
and he was consistent. So I chose the other guy. I went on a date with the other guy, and I tell you, the entire time, the guy talked about himself the entire time. I could not get a word in, and I'm just like, okay, you don't even know anything about me, but I pretty much know half of your life already, but you don't know anything about me. So after the date, I was like, no, this is not going to work. But when I started talking to my husband, when I gave my husband my number, he promised that he wasn't going to call me until I asked him to call me. And he did it.
Hmm.
So we had been
Respectful.
talking and texting, we've been chatting and texting with each other. So one night I was taking one of my friends home because she had come to my house to visit me, and I was taking her home. It was at night, like around 9 p.m. I'm like, I'm not about to be texting and driving at the same time. So I called him. So since then, he was just someone that was so sincere and true and pure at heart. And he knew what he wanted too. So he
Yeah.
went for it. Our love story is like we met each other at the end of January, and by August we were married. Yes.
You both knew. You're like, this is my
We
person.
both knew. And 6 years down the line, we celebrated 6 years of marriage in August. And 3 kids later, here we are.
Oh my gosh, beautiful, beautiful. But it's
Yes.
funny that you didn't pick him right away. You picked the other
Yes.
guy.
I didn't, because for so many reasons. Like, he didn't check my boxes. I mean, he was although I wanted someone that was Nigerian as well, someone that we share the same cultural values, the same beliefs and spiritual values. He met some of those things, but at that time when we met him, we had not really been talking deeply for me to even be able to explore that part of him. So I didn't want to give him a chance, because I'm like, no.
Because he's not the same background, or is it just, or he is, it just, you just,
No, it is the same background, but at that time, I think at that time, my husband had just moved into the country.
Mhm.
So, and I'm like, do I really want to deal with someone that just moved to this country? I don't want to do that. one of the best decisions that I have ever made till date.
Hmm. What was something on his profile that did kind of catch your attention? Because something had to, other than because you
I
had to start
think the
talking to him.
fact that, you know, first we were Nigerian, we're both Nigerians, that, and also the fact that he was a Christian, you
Mhm.
know, that was one of the things that caught my attention. And then another, like he had several pictures on his profile. There was a picture of him where I think he later told me that he had gone to South Africa on a business trip or whatever, and he went to a safari and he was petting a lion. And he yes. So he was petting a lion and he put that on his profile picture. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. So that means this guy is kind of adventurous, you know? So
Yeah. Okay. And then he made the first move, or you made the first move, or you just kind of.
I don't even remember. I think he was the one that said hello first. I think he was the one. So yeah, he said hello and then we started talking. And the funny thing was when we started talking, like I said, he had just moved into the country. I was very skeptical about being online and you know,
Mhm.
and I lied. I lied about my age. I lied about my name. Oh yes. Yes.
I
I will
can't
tell
believe
because
it. You did one of those.
oh yeah, I sure did. Because I was very skeptical and I had a lot of
Okay.
anxiety. I was like, there are crazy people out there, you know. And
There
I
are.
was like, but you know, after weeks of us talking, he caught me in a lie. I told him that I had only been here for maybe a year or so. And so like I think 3 weeks or 2 weeks later after we started talking, so we started to, you know, getting to know each other a little deeper. We were talking about our spiritual faiths, our spiritual beliefs. So he asked me the church that I attended, and I told him, I said, "Oh yeah, I go to this church. I sing in the choir. I'm a praise and worship leader, and I've been going to that church for 12 years." I, not knowing and forgetting that I had already told him that I only been in the country for a year. So he was like, "If you've been in the country for a year, how come you've been going to this church for 12 years?" And of course, at that point, I couldn't I couldn't lie to him. I was like, oh my gosh,
Wait, so did he know
so
your
much
name
for
at
being
that
a good
point?
guy.
Did he know
I'm
your
sorry.
did he know your name, your real
Yeah.
name?
Oh no, I lied about my name too.
Whoa.
So at that point, I just had, he was like, so, and he asked that question. So he was like, so is that even your real name? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. No, that's not my real name. So we started everything all over. But he understood because I mean there are a lot of crazy people out there. So I was guarded. I wanted to guard myself. I wanted to guard my heart. Wanted to guard my feelings. So
Was this like your first or second date, or like?
we had not even been on a date when he
Oh,
found
oh,
out.
oh.
We had not, because remember he said he wasn't going to call me. So we were just texting and chatting. And then when we finally started talking on the phone, that's when we started asking all those deep rooted questions about each other that we needed to know. So, and then he asked me out on the first date. We went on our first date, and it was like we had known each other forever. We were so open. We talked about, I mean, and even on a first date, you know, that's when you're not even supposed to talk about those things. But we were so vulnerable with each other that we were even able to share our past relationships with each other. And it just felt like you were talking to a friend, you know, someone that was not going to judge you, someone that was not going to judge your actions, or, you know, it just felt like I was talking to my friend. So the next day, I cooked and I invited him over to come eat, and he
That's
came.
bold. Oh my gosh. Second date, already cooking for him?
I didn't cook for him specifically. I
Okay.
cooked for my family. And I said, hey, guess what? I'm cooking this. And because he asked me what I was doing, and I said, I'm cooking,
Okay.
which is a Nigerian dish. I told him I was cooking jollof rice. So he said, oh, you're cooking jollof rice. Are you sure you know how to cook? I'm like, yeah. The only way to find out is to come taste it. So he
Ooh.
came, and come to find out, we literally lived 8 minutes away from each other. 8 minutes. When I gave him the address to my house and he popped it in and on Google, it was literally 8 minutes away from my house.
And it took
And we
you an
did not
app
know.
to find each other. Isn't that funny?
I think it was faith. Honestly, I think it was just God, because creating an online profile was definitely something I would have done. I think, and the only way I even knew about it was through my coworker.
Mm.
So at that point, I was also I also have a healthcare background. I'm also a nurse as well. So I was working as a nurse at that point, working in an outpatient clinic center. So I had a coworker that, was engaged to be married. She was at that point, she was going through a divorce. She was separated. And I'm like, wait, you're not even divorced yet. And you already got another man and you're engaged. And I'm here single. And I was just thinking to myself, and I'm here single. So, and I was like, wait, how did you guys meet each other? And they were so in love. Her fiance then had taken her to Paris and proposed to her in front of the Eiffel Tower. So romantic. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so loving this. So she told me about the website, and I'm like, oh no, there's no way I'm going to do that. She's like, just try it. You never know. And honestly, thank God I took her advice that day, because I probably would never have met my husband if I didn't.
Yeah.
And it was totally out of the norm for me. And even for the both of us, because even later, my husband told me like he had never done something like that before either. So that was the first time ever that he would go online, and even before he created a profile, his friend told him, and his friend had told him all these other stories like, don't believe what girls say. Don't, there's so many lies out there that people create. So he was also skeptical about it. And I don't even know how we ended up together after all the lies, but I think it was just fate. It was just God. And
Well, it's wonderful that he saw your genuine character through the lies, like he knew truly who you are. You're just trying to protect yourself.
so, because he had asked me a question, and okay, I not necessarily asked me a question. I think from what I told him about myself, that I've only been in the country, blah 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 blah. So he asked me a question, and I guess the way he asked me the question and my response to that question, he was like, no, I don't think this is right. Are you sure that this is who you are? And I'm like, yeah. So my response to that question kind of gave him, even though I was lying about who I was, but he was like, nah, if this girl is really who she says she is, then she will respond in a different way, but I guess here we are today.
Do you think you guys would have like met, let's say you were at a party together? Do you guys think you would have like, because you said you physically weren't really attracted to him, but do you think like there would have
If
been
we had
anything?
met at a party, the chances of us meeting at a party, I think would have been slim. Because at
Or
that
something,
point,
the grocery store or something, if
yeah.
you met him out and
Um,
about, do you think you
Depending
would have
on the
like,
way he approached me, probably.
okay.
Probably, I would say, but I guess I'll never know.
Because you
Like,
said like
depend.
physically he's not really your type, or he wasn't his picture.
So it wasn't even. It's not like he was a. Oh, my husband is a handsome man. So it's
Just
not
for
like he
the
wasn't
record, for the
handsome.
record.
But I think I bypassed because. So let me tell you, at the point that I was in my life when I met my husband, I really wasn't looking at the physical.
Hmm.
I wanted someone who was pure at heart, because when I was dating before I met him, I was dating without intentions and without purpose. I was just date. When you say I didn't really have a type, I didn't really care, because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. So I didn't really know what to really. So for some people, the looks may be important. Looks is definitely important, but that was not the first priority on my list. So yes, he was handsome and he was cute, but that was not the only thing I was looking for. Because at
Mhm.
that point, I think I knew I wanted to be with someone that we shared the same values, the same spiritual beliefs, the same cultural beliefs, because this is someone I was going to spend the rest of my life with. And prior to that, I'd been just dating without purpose, without intentions. I'm just like, okay, I was just dating. I wanted to get married, but a lot of times people don't actually sit down to one, know who they are and know what they want. When you find a guy that just comes in and probably fits the profile, you're like, okay, cool. Then when you get married, you now start seeing that you guys are not really compatible, because you didn't really ask the needed questions that were supposed to be asked. You didn't really ask those thorough questions about each other before you got married. And then you're not starting to learn about each other, and you're not realizing that, hey, this person might not be for me. So when I met my husband, it wasn't just about his looks.
What do you think are some core questions that you should ask in the beginning?
So I think before you even think about putting yourself out there, trying to date, you need to understand who you are first as a person, as a man or a woman. You need to understand, what do I like? What do I like to do? What makes me happy? What makes me sad? What are my temperaments? What are my qualities? What are my core beliefs? You need to understand that, because once you understand who you are, then you'll be able to navigate through what you want. So
Mhm.
then you know, okay, the family dynamics that I want in a marriage, I want my husband, what kind of spiritual beliefs that I want him to have, what kind of hobby I want to share with him, what kind of family structure that I want. Then when you meet that person, I think with my husband and I, and even with my clients sometimes, I think it's very important, first of all, to ask those things. Um, family values, family beliefs is very important. Spiritual beliefs is very important, because guess what? You're going to raise children. And how are you going to raise those children? Do you want to raise them in a Christian home, in or on unorthodox way? It just depends. So as long as you understand those things, how do I want to be appreciated? You need to also understand, how do you want to be loved? How do you love someone? How do you receive love? What about conflict? How do you resolve conflict? Those questions are extremely important, because you need to know yourself how you resolve conflict.
Yeah.
If you have anger issues, and you're probably even dealing with anger, it's not going to be ideal for you to deal or start dating someone with anger issues as well, because you guys are just going to explode. So those things are very, very important for you to know about yourself first before you can start. Because then once you understand who you are and what you want, you'll be able to eliminate people that are not for you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh,
You and your husband got together in January, you said,
mhm.
and then you're married in August.
In August, yes.
So how did that go? Let's talk about that a little bit, because you got engaged pretty quickly then, right?
We did. We got engaged pretty quickly. So I think at the point that we both were, we knew what we were looking for. And we were both at that point in our lives where we felt like we were ready for a relationship. We were ready for marriage. And we had both been praying. Like my husband would tell me, I've been praying for my wife before I even met her. I didn't know what she was going to look like. I didn't know, if she was going to be white, black, whatever it was. But I had been praying for my wife, my significant other, before I met her. And the same here with me too. I had been praying, because I realized at that point, again, like I said, that I was dating without intention and purpose. So I had to go to God and said, look, God, I want to get married, but I want to do it right. I don't want to marry the wrong person for me. I
Yeah.
don't want to marry wrongly. So I think that was the first thing that we both did. So when we met each other, it was kind of easy, because we were able to talk about those things that, I've been praying, you'd been praying too. And, we would talk on the phone and ask him questions. It's being vulnerable with each other. So I think and I always tell people this, a man knows when he's ready. And it doesn't take a man 5 years to know if he's dating you, if you're the one for him or not, or if he's gonna get married. It doesn't take them that long.
Yeah.
So by the second month or the third month, we pretty much knew we wanted to marry each other. We were even talking about it.
Who knew first?
I think he did first.
Mm.
He did first. In my mind, I knew also that this was a good man, but of course, I was also allowing some of my insecurities and some of my fears and anxiety project on forward onto him. That even though I knew in my mind that I wanted us to get married, but I was just thinking in myself, is this too soon? What if he's not the one for me? Or what if I'm making a mistake? What if this and that? And but I think we both knew, and he knew first, and he would talk about it. I mean, from the time that we had our first date, we were literally inseparable. We were seeing each other every single day, every day.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I think I fell in love with him was he was consistent, and he was accountable.
Mhm.
And accountable in the sense that if he says, honey, I'm going to call you back, he will call back. And if he doesn't call back, The next minute I'm on the phone with him, he'll be like, you know what, I'm sorry I didn't call you back. This is what happened. If he tells you I'm going to be here at this certain time or we're going to go somewhere, he was always just consistent with it. And if something happens, he will explain.
Mm.
And not that he felt like I made him do that, but that was just who he, and even till now, that was just who he is and who he was. And I wasn't really used to that because I wasn't used to men being that open and being that vulnerable. Like, you know, for some men, it's an ego thing. Like, why do I have to tell her where I'm going? Why do I have to tell her? Like on his way to work, he'll tell me, honey, I'm going to work. When he gets to work, he would text me, I just made it to work or I'm leaving. So that alone just opened up that space of for me being able to trust him.
Yeah.
So and then and that's what trust is all about because you just have to be transparent. When you're transparent, it gives room for people to be able to trust you.
No, 100%. It sounds
So,
like in the past you've gotten burned a little bit,
oh
unfortunately.
yes, oh yes, of
And
course, of course.
yeah, and that the
And
fact
I
that
think a lot of people, I mean, many of us have gone through those periods in our lives where we are at our lowest lows, where we feel like I gave everything that I have. I gave my all, my time, my energy, my resources into this relationship, and it got me nowhere. Doesn't mean that you don't know how to love because it's not you, it's that other person that didn't know how to receive your love.
Mhm.
So meeting him was, I think it was just God sent. So I think that's what started this journey of me trying to be a matchmaker because I know there are a lot of people out there that have probably given up on love or not even knowing how to navigate their way into finding love.
Mhm.
People, people, I'll hear people that tell me, "Look, I've been there, I've done that, I've been in relationships, it didn't work out, I've done this, I've done that." But I want to help women and men also navigate through finding love. Some of the steps that you need to take. And sometimes it may be our fears, our insecurities, our anxieties that are holding us back from finding that love. And it's okay to make mistakes. You just have to get yourself back up, pick yourself back up again.
Do you think there's a
Mhm.
common like anxiety that people have about
Oh
finding?
yes, I definitely, definitely. Because even when you're married, you still have anxiety sometimes. Even when you're in a relationship, you have different anxieties, and it might be financial anxieties, it might be emotional anxieties. Anxiety comes in all shapes and manners. So we still do, and it may even be some anxieties about yourself, how you feel like you're going to behave in that relationship. So, but being with the right person, not necessarily the perfect person, because there's nobody that's perfect, but when you are with the right person, you know you can sometimes sit back through their actions and it will help you relieve those anxieties.
Mhm.
So,
What is something that you tell your clients like on the date? Like, talk about this, don't talk about that, or maybe
so,
plan this type of date or don't plan that type of date. You know, you should definitely something like
so
that.
for my clients,
Mhm.
I always tell them to be genuine and sincere and be positive. Like when you're going on a date, come correct and put your best foot forward. Let that person get to know the real you, not some of your mistakes in the past, because we all make mistakes, but let them get to see you. Let your positivity radiate through you. Like when you're in your date, if your smile is your best accessory, wear that smile. Let them know that you have this beautiful smile. If you are a positive person, a strong person, let them know that I'm a strong person, but I use it in the right way. Not a way that comes off as you want to be domineering, but if you like to sing, whatever hobby that you like to do, if you're good at something, hey, let them know I'm good at this.
Mhm.
Don't be negative about yourself. Like some of the things that happened in the past, you can't change it back. You can't bring back the hands of time, but you can look forward to the future. And especially if you're meeting this person and trying to have a future with them, you want them to see the real you, the positive, the good about you, because that's what they're going to remember.
Yeah.
So those
No
are
one
one of the
wants a
things that I
negative
tell.
Nancy on the first date.
Exactly. You don't want that. And And sometimes, there are some dates that can take different shapes and forms. Like I have had a client that I sent on a date. It was even on a Zoom date during the pandemic, and they were on that Zoom date for almost 4 hours. Oh yeah,
That's a long
that's a
Zoom
long
date.
time.
Oh my
But obviously,
gosh.
they had an absolute great conversation, trying to get to know each other. When they told me, I was shocked. I'm like, wait, what?
For a first date?
For
Yeah.
our first date. So, and everything was good. And I was like, oh. So sometimes you have those moments. And if you go on a date with someone and you don't feel that connection, it's okay. You can't beat yourself about it. But if you go on a date and you don't have a connection with someone, don't be negative about it either.
Mhm.
Live a good impression. You never know. You may not be good enough for that person, but that person may know someone that you're good enough for. So you just never know. Leave a good lasting impression. You don't want a situation where that person will come back like they were just mean, they were just rude. No, you always want to just put your best self forward. Let your smile, let your light shine in that day. So when they go home, they want to think about you and call me and say, look, I want to go on a date with that person again.
Well, so okay, so let's say you're on a date and it's a bad date. Like it's just, or you know that there's no spark there. Let's just say that
Mhm.
not even a bad date. There's just not that like je ne sais quoi or whatever you want to say, like
Yeah.
that's something there. So how do you like when would be the appropriate time to like be like, okay, like I should leave? Or do you just say it after dinner? Like when would
So
be
I mean, the appropriate time would just be like even after dinner, or if you start to feel uncomfortable, you don't want to be in a situation where you're uncomfortable, or maybe one of you is behaving appropriately or something like that. And then if you start to feel uncomfortable and the person is behaving unappropriately, then you can say, look, I'm sorry, I just have to go. You can say I'm sorry, or you can leave in a nice way that doesn't come off as you being rude or just nasty. So at any time that you feel like, okay, this is not going to work out, but just do it in a nice way. No one's going to hold you down to it. Just be nice and just say, okay, you know what? I don't think this is working out. I think you're a great person. I pray and I hope you're going to find someone. And I know you're probably going to find someone good for you in the future. That person is just not me.
yeah.
And I think that we respect you for it too.
No, it's much nicer than just obviously ghosting somebody.
Exactly.
Ghosting is
Just
terrible. It's so
accountable
easy to
for it.
do
For
on
yeah.
the yeah, it's so easy to do on the apps, but it's just like it's an easy way out. And
Yes.
it shows, I think, immaturity. Unless the person was a real not so great person. Then I think it's okay. You can ghost them.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So okay, so you and your husband got engaged. How did you get engaged? I have to go back to this for just a second.
So I had my younger brother at that time had just graduated from college, and we all drove. He graduated from Texas Tech, and we all drove like 9 hours, all my family. And by the way, I am the only girl out of five brothers.
Mhm.
So my husband had a hard time. Everybody gave him a hard time, from
Wow.
my dad to my brothers. But I think they were trying to find something negative about him, but they just couldn't,
They ended
because
up
he
loving
was
him. Yeah.
humble, he was respectful, he was nice, even. And I am such a family oriented person
Mhm.
as well. So he had to be a family oriented person to be able to deal with me, because I have a large family and we're always doing something. So we went to my brother's graduation. We're all rented a one big van. We're in the car. And I'm like, okay, he survived this, which was good. And he blended well with everyone, and everyone just like, even though they kind of left him alone on the side by himself, but he maneuvered his way pretty well around my family. So the next day the next week, was Mother's Day.
Mhm.
So we were having like a little family get together in my house. So he comes to the house and he's like, hey babe, come outside, I want to show you something. And people were there and I'm like, what's going on? So I go outside, and he had already told one of his friends, who was a photographer at that time, to come, that he was going to propose to me. I didn't know what was going on. So I go outside and then he starts saying all these sweet words, and he's like, I love you so much, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I'm just like, okay, what's going on? And the next thing, he just goes down on his knees and he proposes. I'm like, oh my God. Like, totally caught off guard. I mean, I know we'd been talking about marriage or whatever, but we did not actually talk about, oh, how he was going to propose or things like that. So I was totally caught off guard. And that's how we got
You
engaged.
knew it was like in the stars, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm engaged. And this was May. We got engaged in May.
You planned a fast wedding.
He went fast. We got engaged in May and we met just in January. It was so funny. But
Yeah, when it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
yes, I think that's what it is.
So you specialize in more the Nigerian culture, or do you?
I would say more of the African culture. So I specialize in African professionals, men and women, those people that share the same values, the same cultural norms, the same belief system. But it's not totally 100% just for African professionals. There are people that want to date Africans. So, and there are also African professionals that want to date different cultures, different races. So, I mean, it doesn't matter, all works of life. Wherever you're from, no matter what race you are, we can match you. But I do specialize in African professionals mostly.
Do you have like a database, or you find, I mean, I'm sure you have a database, but
Yes,
how do you find your database, I guess?
So a lot of it is through people going through our website, and we have a huge and a large database. I'm also connected with other matchmakers as well, and then even community word of mouth, different places, anywhere, churches. So, but the way we do it is just it's that curated approach, that curated personalized matchmaking where we find out what you want, what are your criteria, what are the things that you're looking for in a soulmate. I mean, there's some people, and another thing that I've realized is there's one thing for you to say that you're looking or you want to be in a relationship, and for you to actually put in the work that it takes for you to be in a relationship. So, and those are two totally different things that I'm having to educate our clients about it as well. So then it's the personalized approach, asking you, like I said, what are you looking for in a mate, and the criteria. And some people may be confused as well. So we help you navigate through those processes and those ways of you finding love and what you're looking for as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I mean, we if even we do it all, we even go to the point of setting up the date for you at a restaurant. Yes, we set up the date for you if you don't have the time. Professionals are really busy. These are people that are probably working long hours and they just don't have the time to go out a date. They don't have the time to go out and search for people. Maybe they don't go out a lot. I mean, their community is not wide, it's not big enough. So or maybe they live in a large community, but they just can't seem to find anybody.
Do you think it's best to do like dinner or an activity for the first date?
I think for me, I mean, and people are different, but I think it's best to do dinner, because in when you're in an atmosphere that is romantic, that is, the lights are a little dim, you're looking at each other, you can get to kind of find out if this person is really into you or not. That's in a space where you can be open and transparent with each other. So I think it gives you that time to be able to talk and have those conversations that are needed on the first date. But an activity, you're probably more focused on the activity. And especially if you're on a date with someone that is very competitive, and it's a turn on for you, you will see that side of that person, I mean, that character comes out, and it may be a turn off for you.
Well, then you're stuck on the date for the rest.
And then you're
rest
stuck
of
on the date. And
yeah.
I mean, that sometimes, and that's why I say that, first impressions really last longer. Someone may be competitive and it may come off as a negative behavior, a negative character, but that's not all that is to that person. That person may really be a good, genuine person, but because of that one trait, negative trait, you may not be able to give them a chance and really get to know who they really are. But at a dinner, you'll be able to talk. It gives you that opportunity to have those conversations and try to get to know each other on a deeper level.
Yeah.
Like when I went on a date with my husband for the first time, I never even thought it was going to plan out that way. We started talking about, our lives, what do we like to do, our hobbies, and then we got so comfortable with each other that we were able, of course, the connection was there and everything. And then we got so comfortable that we were really able to talk about some deep stuff on our first date.
Wow.
Like we talked about our previous relationships, our exes, and what we went through in those relationships on a first date. That's normally not ideal. I normally don't even um, educate my clients to do that on the first date, but I guess our date just kind of took a different turn, and we really discussed those things. Like we were on our date for a long time.
And you're both comfortable talking about
And
it.
we were comfortable. Exactly. We were both really comfortable talking about it. I don't think we would have been able to do that if we did an activity on our date.
Yeah. Being very genuine.
Yeah.
You guys being very genuine. Yeah. So where can everybody find you? Tell us a little bit.
So you
Where
can
can
find
they
us on
hang
our
out with you
website. Our
more?
website is, I'm sorry, I didn't
So
hear
where
you.
can they hang out with you more?
Well, I am based out of Houston, Texas. Our website is www.thelovedynasty.com. We're also on Facebook at The Love Dynasty on Facebook. We're also on Instagram, The Love Dynasty _. So our phone number, our information, email address is there. You're welcome to call us at any time. I mean, anybody, as long as you're looking for love. We believe that anyone can find love. That love is out there, and especially my business model is towards people that really want to find true love, that want to be in a healthy relationship, a healthy, long-lasting relationship, and that are willing to put in the work. We also do date coaching as well and relationship coaching as well. There are, yes, and we help you just navigate through the steps that you need to take to be able to find that long-lasting relationship. We're all about love. We just want to help restore hope and love into the hearts of men and women.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Because we want to have that smile that you're having right now. Like you're smiling like somebody that's in love or somebody wonderful in your life. When you're in love, when you everything, the smile that you have is different.
Well, I love talking to you. So there you go.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. So anyone that's out there, if you're listening, if you're looking for love, please find us. Get in contact with us.
I'll put all the information in the show notes. All good there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining me and talking and sharing about your story and
oh no,
how you started your business, your personal story, and then led you to your business.
Yes. I love talking about it. I love sharing love stories. I love hearing people's love stories too. So I think today I listened to a love story of like a couple that you had on your show, how they met each other in med school.
Oh yeah.
So I love hearing stories like that. I just
there.
love hearing beautiful stories, happy endings.
Yeah. It's fun. Everybody has a different story.
Yes, everyone does. Exactly. Everyone always has a different story. No story is ever similar.
No. And you think it's supposed to be one way, but it always is like a totally different way, or so which is nice to know that it's just usually unexpected, usually very unexpected.
And it's good for people to know that no matter how it is, how much in love people are, love it's not meant to be 100% perfect. It's not going to be perfect. It may not be perfect, but it's just two imperfect people that are perfect for each other, making a conscious decision, a conscious daily decision to make it work. It's a conscious commitment of making it work.
It's beautiful.
Just remember that.